If you've ever traveled alone and checked into a hotel late at night, you need to hear this before you do it again. I want to start by saying I've stayed in hundreds of hotels. I used to travel for work, sales route through the Midwest, and I never thought twice about checking in alone at 11 at night. That's just what you do. You're tired, you want a shower and a bed, and you don't think about who else is on your floor. That night in Ohio changed all of that for me. It was late October. I'd been driving since 6 that morning, and by the time I pulled into the parking lot of this hotel off the interstate, I was running on fumes and gas station coffee. It wasn't some rundown place. It was a decent chain hotel, the kind with a lobby that smells like vanilla and a front desk clerk who barely looks up from her screen. I remember her name tag said Denise. She checked me in without much conversation, handed me a key card, and told me I was on the second floor, room 214, at the end of the hall. I didn't think anything of it. I grabbed my bag, took the elevator up, and found my room. It looked normal. 2 beds, a desk, blackout curtains, the usual setup. I dropped my stuff, took a shower, and got into bed around midnight, planning to be back on the road by 7 the next morning. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up because I heard a knock at my door. Not loud, not aggressive, just 3 soft knocks like someone tapping their knuckles gently, almost polite. I sat up in the dark and just listened. My heart was already going because when you're half asleep and someone knocks on your hotel door at 2 a.m., your brain goes to bad places immediately. I didn't answer. I just sat there completely still, staring at the door. A few seconds later, I heard a voice. A man's voice, low, almost a whisper, saying, "Hey, it's maintenance. We've got a water issue on this floor. I need to check your bathroom real quick." Now, if you've ever worked a hotel job or even just paid attention to how hotels operate, you know maintenance does not come knocking at 2 in the morning for a water issue, without calling the front desk first. Without any warning, nothing on the door, no note slipped under it. I've stayed in enough hotels to know that's not how it works. So I didn't open the door. I said through the door that I'd call the front desk to confirm. There was a pause, a long pause, and then I heard him say real quiet, "That's fine, ma'am. I'm not a woman. I'm a man in my 30s. That's when the hair on my arm stood straight up. I picked up the room phone and called the front desk immediately. Denise answered, sounding half asleep herself, and I asked her point blank if she'd sent anyone up for a maintenance issue. She said no. No maintenance calls that night, nothing scheduled, nobody dispatched to the second floor. I asked her to check the hallway cameras. She put me on hold for what felt like 5 minutes, but was probably 90 seconds. When she came back, her voice was different, tighter. She said the hallway camera showed a man standing outside my door for almost 11 minutes before he knocked. He wasn't wearing a uniform. He wasn't carrying any tools. He was just standing there, close to the door like he was listening. She told me to stay inside, keep the door locked and the deadbolt and chain on, and that she was calling the police right then. I sat on that bed with a chair wedged under the door handle, gripping my phone, listening to every sound in that hallway. I heard footsteps moving away, slow, unhurried, like whoever it was wasn't in any rush at all. That unhurried pace is what scared me more than anything. If he was scared of getting caught, he'd have run. He didn't run, he walked. Police showed up about 20 minutes later. I heard them in the hallway, radios crackling, doors being knocked on up and down the floor. An officer came to my room, and I opened up and told him everything. He said they'd pulled the footage and were reviewing it, and that they wanted me to come down and give a statement, which I did, sitting in that lobby at 3 in the morning in my sweatpants, hands still shaking. Here's the part that really gets me. The officer told me this wasn't the first complaint from that hotel. There'd been at least 2 other reports in the past few months, guests on that same floor saying someone had knocked late at night claiming to be maintenance or claiming to be hotel staff, always alone travelers, always late at night. Nothing had ever escalated past a knock, and a strange conversation through the door. Until, allegedly, one report a few weeks before mine, where a woman actually opened the door because the man claimed there was smoke coming from her room. She said he stepped inside for a few seconds before she screamed and he ran off. She wasn't hurt, but she never stayed in a hotel alone again. They never caught the guy. Not that night, not as far as I know. I checked out at 5 in the morning, didn't even wait for daylight, just threw my stuff in my car and drove 2 hours to a rest stop, where I sat in my locked car until sunrise because I genuinely didn't trust another hotel room that night. I still travel for work sometimes, but now, no matter what floor I'm on, no matter what hotel it is, I call the front desk before I open that door for anyone. Maintenance, housekeeping, security, doesn't matter what they call themselves. I check first, every single time. Because somewhere out there, that man is probably still doing it. Still knocking. Still using that same calm, quiet voice. And somewhere, some tired traveler who just wants to believe the excuse is about to reach for the handle. If you ever hear a knock like that late at night in a hotel room, don't open the door. Call the front desk first. It might be the only thing that saves you. I've stayed in enough hotels to know they all start to feel the same after a while. Same hallways, same key cards, same locks on the doors. Then I checked into room 328, and one ordinary night became the reason I never fully trust a hotel room anymore. It was a work trip, nothing special. I flew into a mid-sized city for a 2-day conference, the kind where you sit in a beige room and drink bad coffee and pretend to take notes. My company booked me into a decent chain hotel downtown. I checked in around 9 at night, tired, hungry, wanting nothing more than a shower and a bed. The woman at the front desk was polite but distracted, tapping away at her screen. She handed me my key cards. She mentioned something about the elevators being slow because of maintenance on one of the floors. I didn't think anything of it. You never do in the moment. It's only later when you're replaying everything in your head that the small details start to feel like warnings. Room 328 was on the second floor, at the end of a long hallway with dim lighting and patterned carpet, the kind of carpet designed specifically so you can't tell if it's stained. The room itself was fine. Clean. 2 beds, a desk, a window that looked out over a parking garage. I dropped my bag, ordered room service, ate half a sandwich, and fell asleep with the TV still on. I woke up a little after 3 a.m. Not because of a noise, not because of anything dramatic. I just woke up the way you sometimes do in an unfamiliar room, your body confused about where it is. The TV had shut itself off on a timer. The room was dark except for the red glow of the alarm clock and a thin line of hallway light under the door. I lay there for a minute, waiting to fall back asleep, when I noticed the door to my room wasn't fully latched. It was open maybe half an inch, just enough for that hallway light to slip through. I remember my stomach dropping because I was certain, absolutely certain, that I had locked it. I always check. It's a habit from years of solo travel. I got up, crossed the room in the dark, and pushed the door shut. The latch clicked. I checked the deadbolt too, twisted it until it wouldn't move anymore, and stood there for a second with my hand still on it, feeling stupid for being so shaken over something that probably just didn't catch properly the first time. I went back to bed. I didn't sleep, not really. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the air conditioner, telling myself I was overreacting. Around 3:40, my phone rang. The hotel room phone, not my cell. I hadn't even known it was connected. I stared at it lighting up on the nightstand, ringing in that flat, mechanical hotel phone way, and for a moment I genuinely considered not answering it. But I did. Nobody spoke. I could hear breathing, slow, steady, like someone standing very close to a receiver and in no hurry at all. I said hello twice. Nothing. Then the line went dead. I called the front desk immediately. my hands actually shaking as I dialed. A different employee than before, a man this time, told me nobody had called my room from the desk, and that the system didn't show any outgoing calls to 328 in the last hour. He offered to send security up to check the hallway. I said yes. I sat on the edge of the bed with my shoes on, my bag already packed, watching that door like it owed me an explanation. Security showed up about 10 minutes later. Two guys, calm, professional, walked the hallway with me standing in the doorway behind them. They said everything looked normal. No one else was on the floor. The maintenance work the front desk mentioned earlier had been on the door mechanisms themselves, on that exact floor, and they suggested that might explain why my door hadn't latched properly the first time. As for the phone call, they had no explanation. They said sometimes old internal phone systems in these buildings glitch, that a line can ring on its own if there's a fault somewhere in the switchboard. I wanted to believe that. I really did. It was clean, it made sense, and it let me stop feeling like something else was going on. I didn't sleep again that night. I sat up with the lights on, watching the clock crawl toward morning. When the sun finally came up, I checked out 3 hours before I needed to, sat in the lobby with my bag between my feet, and waited for a rideshare to take me straight to the airport. Conference be damned. Here's the part that still gets me, though. Weeks later, back home, I mentioned the whole thing to a coworker who travels constantly for the same company. I told her the hotel name, the room number, half joking about my paranoid night. Her face changed. She told me she'd stayed on that same floor a few months earlier in a different room and had the exact same experience. Door not latching. A call in the middle of the night with nobody on the other end. She'd chalked it up to an old building too, until I told her mine. 2 different people, 2 different rooms, months apart, same floor, same unexplained phone call. Maybe it really was a faulty switchboard. Maybe 2 doors on an aging floor just happened to fail the same way. I want to believe that. I have to believe that because the alternative is something I don't like thinking about, especially not late at night, in a room that isn't mine, with a door I have to trust is actually locked. If you've ever checked into a hotel room, looked at the door and thought, that lock looks flimsy, I need you to trust that feeling, because I ignored it. And what happened to me over the next 6 hours changed the way I travel forever. This happened in a mid-range hotel just off a highway exit in Ohio, about 2 years ago. I was driving cross-country for a new job, and I stopped for the night because I was exhausted. Nothing special about the place. A chain hotel, the kind you've stayed in 100 times. Beige walls, a mini fridge that hummed too loud. I checked in around 9 p.m. The guy at the front desk was polite, a little distracted, kept glancing at his phone. He gave me a room on the 3rd floor, handed me a key card, and that was it. I didn't think twice about it. I got to my room, dropped my bag, and did what everyone does. I flopped onto the bed and turned on the TV. I was tired in that deep, bone-tired way where you're not even hungry anymore, just done. I remember thinking I'd shower in the morning instead. I fell asleep with the lamp still on. I woke up around 1 a.m. because I was cold. The air conditioning had kicked on full blast, and I remember lying there annoyed, fumbling for the remote to turn it down. That's when I noticed the door. The deadbolt wasn't engaged. I was sure I'd locked it. I always lock it, force of habit from years of solo travel. But there it was, just the latch, no deadbolt, no chain. I told myself I must have forgotten. I got up, turned the AC down, and this time I locked everything. Deadbolt, chain. I even checked it twice, which I never do. Then I went back to bed. I didn't fall back asleep right away. I lay there in the dark, and for some reason my brain wouldn't let it go. I kept replaying checking in, walking to the room, sliding the card. Had I actually locked it the first time? I was almost positive I had. Around 2:40 a.m., I heard the card reader on my door beep. That specific electronic beep-click sound they make when someone taps a keycard against the lock. I sat straight up. My heart was already going before my brain caught up with what I'd heard. The little light on the lock, I could see it through the gap under the door. A thin strip of hallway light. It blinked green. Then the handle turned, just slightly. It caught on the deadbolt and stopped. I didn't move. I sat there in pitch dark, staring at that door, waiting for it to happen again. And it did. A second beep. Another click. The handle pressed down again, harder this time, like whoever it was actually expected the door to open. I want to be honest with you. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about who it might be or why. I was only thinking about the fact that someone, somewhere, had a working key to my room, and they were actively trying to get in. I grabbed my phone and called the front desk. It rang 4 times before anyone picked up. I kept my voice as low and steady as I could and told the guy, a different guy than before, night shift, that someone was trying to open my door with a key card. He paused for a second too long before responding and told me he'd send security up. Nobody came for almost 15 minutes. In that time, the door did not shake. Nobody knocked. But twice more, I heard that same beep, that same click, that same testing of the handle, slow, patient, like whoever was out there wasn't in any hurry and wasn't worried about being caught. When security finally showed up, I heard voices in the hallway, and then a knock, an actual knock, different rhythm entirely from what I'd been hearing. I looked through the peephole and saw a hotel employee in a polo shirt. I opened the door as far as the chain allowed and asked if anyone else was out there. He said no, said the hallway had been empty when he arrived. I asked him to check the system, to check which keycards had access to my room. He said he would and that I should try to get some rest, that they'd have someone posted nearby. I did not get some rest. I sat up in a chair, facing the door until sunrise. In the morning, I went down to the front desk and asked to speak to a manager. I explained everything. To her credit, she pulled up the access log for my room. And this is the part that still gets me, all this time later. The log showed 4 keycard taps on my door between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. All 4 were logged under a housekeeping override card, the kind used for emergencies or cleaning entry, but no housekeeping shift was scheduled that night. She went pale reading it. She told me that override card had gone missing from a supply closet 3 days earlier, and they hadn't reported it because they assumed it had just been misplaced during a shift change. Someone had a master key to every room in that hotel, and that night, out of every door in that building, they chose mine. I never found out who it was. The hotel comped my stay, apologized, said they'd change their protocols. I didn't ask what that meant. I just wanted to leave. I checked out that morning, got in my car, and didn't stop driving until I crossed into another state. I think about it sometimes when I check into a hotel now, any hotel anywhere. I check the deadbolt. I check the chain. And I always push the dresser or a chair in front of the door before I go to sleep, no matter how tired I am. Because I learned that night that a locked door isn't really locked if someone else is holding the key. And somewhere out there, someone still has one for a room I never slept safely in again. If these hotel horror stories made you think twice about your next trip, let me know which one unsettled you the most. Was it the silent phone call, the fake maintenance knock, or the stolen master key? Drop your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed these stories and want more horror stories, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next upload. And if you know someone who travels often, share this video with them. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Double check that hotel door before you go to sleep, and I'll see you in the next horror story.